Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morgan, we're at the Motor City Madmouth. I have a really good crew tonight. I want to introduce them right to left. Bo is on here from Football Talk with Bo. Welcome back, Bo.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
You're very welcome. George Eichhorn, you and I got two to go tonight.
Yeah, we do. Good to be back on. Talk some pigskin.
You bet. Mel Farr Jr., welcome back, Mel.
Hey, great to be back. What's going on, guys?
Different night, our version of Monday Night Football, anyways. And last but not least, Travis Holmes. Welcome back, Travis.
Thank you for having me. Football is started. We have kicked off. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, we sure do. We have quite a few interesting topics to get to, and coming up after Inside the Pigskin, we'll have 108 Stitches baseball talk to follow. So let's get started here. And this one, actually, I was glad to see this one come through. Titans Terrell Williams hopes NFL follows Mike Vrabel's lead on preseason head coaching chance. Williams was the acting head coach for Tennessee's preseason opener Saturday in Chicago. Williams, who is black, came up through the NFL's minority coaching program with his first stint since 1999 when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wants to become a head coach. Well, you know what, Bo? This is a great story. I hope this becomes a trend.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't been more of one in the past. Obviously the head coaches, especially ones that have been tenured for a while, don't necessarily need to be the head coach during those preseason games. They're pretty familiar with the ins and outs of their team. So if they can bring someone along and give them that kind of opportunity, absolutely they should do that, especially if that assistant coach has aspirations to be a head coach, which I would imagine most of them do. It's great to see, and I hope that they do more of it for sure.
George.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, this is a good opportunity for him, but it's also a good opportunity for the NFL. It just sometimes just enough is not done, and I know that some people might be ruffled by things such as words like quota and all that. It's not about quota. It's about fairness. These gentlemen that have worked in the NFL for many years, many of the assistant coaches, some of them coordinators on defense or offense, they deserve a chance. They deserve a head coaching position. And, it's too bad we're in a society where we still have to do these type of things and mandate or at least recommend that interviews are granted to minorities. But I mean, this is the way it is, unfortunately. But all that being said, more opportunities, more jobs. I'm all in favor of it for blacks and other minority, Hispanics. I don't care what it is. They deserve a chance.
Right.
For sure.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, I thought that was a class act on Vrabel's part, and really never even thought about it before. When I first saw it, I was like, man, that's a heck of an idea. But as a head coach, you have to have a certain comfort level, be secure in who you are, and know that you're not going to have to look over your shoulder and worry about this guy trying to take your job. And he's obviously, as Bo mentioned, he's one of the more tenured guys, not the most tenured guy, but he's one of the more tenured guys, and he feels very comfortable and secure in his role and his position there in Tennessee. And I think that was a great thing for him to do, to step aside and give this guy an opportunity who, has worked real hard. He's a position coach. He's not a coordinator or anything like that, but he was elevated to assistant head coach. And he feels this guy deserves an opportunity and gives him an opportunity so that when he goes into an interview for a head coaching job, he'll have that on his resume that he did do that. Not only did he coach the game, I mean, the whole week up until practice. I mean, he was the guy, he put together the game plan for offense and defense. I mean, he did all the head coaching duties the week leading up to the preseason game. So, I mean, I think my hat's off to Mike Vrabel for doing that. Something that was outside of the box, and I think that's great. And I would like to see more coaches follow his act. I think that would be great.
All right, turn over to you, Travis.
I hate to ever give the Tennessee Titans a tip of the cap as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, but as the former DB, I gotta say, yeah, that was a real incredible thing to do. I mean, you have a defensive-minded head coach, in Babrell, who knows how difficult already it is for a defensive coach just to be an NFL head coach. More or less, this is an assistant defensive line coach. They rarely ever get an opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL, and he knows these things as a defensive coach. So for him to find that out of the box way to get your assistant defensive line coach and assistant head coach that kind of experience to say, I have done the job of a head coach, even as a preseason game, I know these things. That is a heck of a resume builder, even for someone who's coached for a very long time. I mean, we've seen all the bad examples of someone who says they were an offensive coordinator or assistant head coach, and then like what's Nathaniel Hackett, someone like that, and you talk to people in Green Bay, and then they're like, well, he just made PowerPoints the day before the game, or he rah the troops and things of that nature, but he didn't actually do the head coach activities. This gets you an easier opportunity in the door just to say, hey, I actually did the job of a head coach. I know this. I might have some growing opportunities, but they may be minimized by this experience. So this is awesome.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this whole story too, and a lot of us have probably wondered, you create the Rooney Rule, but are they circumventing it? Well, what we're hearing here is that Mike Vrabel says maybe the Rooney Rule isn't getting it done. I need to do something else to bring awareness to it. So, I mixed emotions on the Rooney Rule, but when you guys have said the key words outside the box, more power to them. Yeah, I know how it pains you, Travis. Okay, to see anything good about the Tennessee Titans. I'm with you. I cover the Jaguars too, but let's face the reality. They always say that for things to get done, you try different things, and this is the way to do it. Now, again, preseason, you can do a lot of different things. The games don't count, but you know what? So what? They'll count in other ways. You'll have game film on how this guy manages a game, and everything will be done. And then, of course, Mike Vrabel will be able to go out there and let people know that, hey, you know what? No, I have no problems following anybody following me on this particular situation. We got to in-house this if it's not going to get done. To me, it goes beyond my wildest of imagination. And I still don't know why Eric Bieniemy hasn't landed an NFL head coaching job. But I'll tell you, if he does a great job with the Washington Commanders, Eric Bieniemy will be the next African-American coach that will be a head coach in the league. That much I feel strong about. All right, well, you know what? We're going to stay in the volunteer state, okay? But we're going to go in a really different path. That Peyton Manning is returning to Tennessee as a professor of practice at the College of Communication and Information starting this fall. Manning graduated from Tennessee in 1997 with a degree in speech communication. He launched Omaha Productions Entertainment Company. You know what, folks? I have a communication degree. Not a bad degree, especially if he's getting it. So, all right, we'll continue the pattern here, right to left. Bo, what are your thoughts about Professor Peyton?
I mean, I like it. If you've looked at Peyton through his career, he's been very forward-thinking in any of his marketing campaign. I mean, there hasn't been something offered to him that he hasn't gone on TV to try and sell at this point. So I think that that could be very beneficial. And him starting that just makes me think of a lot of like Dan Patrick's, what is that? It's the Full Sail.
I know what you're talking about. So Full Sail Communications, right? Yeah.
So I mean, it's a similar type of broadcasting school. I think Peyton could definitely have a lot of success with that.
Hey, turn over you, George. Professor Peyton.
I have utmost respect as well, Scott. You know that. I was a journalism major at Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. And I had some great teachers along the way. There's no question in my mind that Professor Peyton Manning will do well. He's getting a ton of kidding already from his kid brother, wondering what the heck is my brother doing. I think half of it is tongue-in-cheek, though, coming from his brother Eli. But no, I think it's a great thing. I think he's giving back, but he's also sharing his experiences. Let's face it, he's been on the receiving end of so many interviews and so many things that journalists in sports especially have done. I think he's gained a lot of knowledge in that area. Personally, I think he'll be good for teaching the class. I'm looking forward to seeing the kind of results he gets. But I'm also looking forward to the day when Scott Morganroth is teaching his class.
Oh yeah. Oh, thank
I had
God.
to slip that in.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
did. Thanks
Yeah.
so much. Okay. You know what? Before we turn it over to Mel, we'll turn it over to somebody who obviously knows a thing or two. Professor Rain. Oh God, kid.
And I said it before she did.
Yeah, you know what? You fall into the GMTA category. Great minds think alike, and I'll leave it at that. So, all right, Mel.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for the kids that are there in that communication school. It's going to be a great experience for them. I mean, listen, Peyton's been in the limelight for a very, very long time, and he does a very, very good job in front of the camera. Whether he's the interviewer or the interviewee. Him and his brother do an outstanding job with their little Monday night coverage. It's outstanding. They're personable. They're funny. They're very relatable. Peyton does a very good job, and he's succeeded at everything else that he's done, and I don't see why he wouldn't do a very, very good job at this. But I think it's good for the university. It's good for those students as well to have some real practical experience. I don't know what other professors there have the type of platform that Peyton Manning has. I doubt there's any professor there that is teaching them that has a platform that he has. So I think it'll be great for the students.
Well, before I turn over to Travis, let me go to the comment. Eric Katz, I can only imagine walking into a classroom and Peyton Manning is standing there. LOL. Yeah. I guess I'm with you there, Eric. By the way, Eric will be on tonight's edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk after Inside the Pigskin. All right, go ahead, Travis.
I mean, there's no world where this is a bad idea. This is Peyton Manning, and we all know that he grew his career in production out of the fact that he's freaking Peyton Manning. Like he's a great quarterback who was then able to leverage his ability into all of these other areas. But I don't want to discount that and say the man's not a great actor. He's not a great director. He's not a great producer. Like he's had multiple documentaries. He has his own production company. They've had the commercials. We've all laughed at him throwing a football at these kids and cursing them out in the commercial. Like, the one I'm talking about. Like, it's that guy. And not only is it an advantage for the university, it's an advantage for the athletics. Because there are very many of those students who will step foot in Peyton Manning's class in the new world of NIL and ask, how can I leverage this sport that I'm playing, this thing that I'm doing for recruiting purposes, all of that. Like there's a billion different ways that the university can leverage that and use the Peyton Manning brand to grow the university. So it's a great idea. I'm sure it's going to work well because everything the man touches seems to turn to gold.
Great point. And you know what? More power to him. Whatever he succeeds, like you say, Travis does well. Eric Katz, all right, I got to put this out there. He has his show and has been on both sides of the media. Lots of things can be learned from him. No question about it, Eric. No question about it. So Eric's right on point. So, again, Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning. But you know what? He's a very highly intelligent individual, too.
Oh, yeah.
Chance that this guy can own a team, but you know what? With his work ethic being what it is, hey, listen, I wouldn't mind learning. And when I was at University of South Florida, I found that a lot of the athletes took classes along these lines because, let's face, communications is a big part of what we do, and this is an opportunity from a guy that certainly has seen it on a lot of different fronts. So, all right, well, we'll go from Peyton to probably, I think, the most laughable thing I'm going to say tonight, that the Baltimore Ravens held off the Philadelphia Eagles for their 24th consecutive preseason victory. Is it hooray for the Baltimore Ravens? Or I don't even know what to take of this. And you know what? I am not even going to comment on this other than the fact that just brought it up. I'll let you four guys tackle it. Unintended.
I mean, I guess you're the August champs. You can take as much solace in that as you want. I mean, if it doesn't end up in wins in December, who cares? But it's an impressive streak. So I will say that it is an impressive run to go on. But that just means you're taking preseason individual games a little more seriously than other teams. And the only reason I say it that way is other teams may be looking more at depth instead of necessarily the win directly. So I don't know how much, victory that really is, but yeah, I mean, it's a cool run. It doesn't mean anything as soon as the season starts, but cool run.
George?
Well, Dan Campbell with the win the other night over the Giants is 2-5 in his career with the Lions as head coach in the preseason. It doesn't mean a heck of a lot, but it does speak well. I've always admired John Harbaugh. I think he's a solid coach. He's good at what he does. I don't think he's putting any more emphasis on winning in preseason, although the record would disagree with me. But the fact is that the team wants to win. Like you said, Bo, I mean, there's a desire there of some sort. I've never heard of this before. I don't ever remember, and I'm sure there have been teams over the years, but boy, that's a long winning streak in the exhibition season. And now, of course, as we know, it's only 3 games. So it's a tribute to John and his staff, but also it does show that, there's a reason why the Ravens are up there usually year after year, battling for either the division title or a wild card spot.
No.
Yeah, I was surprised when I heard that on the broadcast. They said they hadn't lost a game since Barack Obama was in office. I'm like, obviously somebody didn't tell them that these games don't matter. Because I do. I mean, they keep score, right? I mean, they keep score, so the games must matter. I think, with the Ravens, it's a culture. John Harbaugh has established a culture there. There's a winning culture. I don't think he tries any harder. He didn't play his starters the entire, preseason to set this record because, we know that the quarterback didn't play and one of them got injured and the other one had to come back in who was a journeyman, 38 years old. Was it Josh Johnson, I think is his name, and had to come back into the game because the quarterback, not Huntley, whoever the second string quarterback who was who made the Pro Bowl last year, got hurt, pulled a hamstring or something like that. But it just tells you they have a culture there. There's a certain expectation there. There's a certain way they go about their business. There's a certain way they go about getting things done. And that's why they've had the success that they've had over, for a long period of time.
Okay, Travis?
I mean, to everyone's point, I mean, I haven't heard a bad point yet. They care about, and it's not to say all NFL teams don't care, but the Ravens are a team who are generally, no matter how good or how bad the roster is, find a way to scrape and claw to that 500 range. They are always that team in the regular season. So they're generally a deep roster. They are a well-coached team. They're a disciplined team, and they seem to take it serious at all levels of that depth chart, that they're going to fight and scratch and claw. Like 24 in a row absolutely will come with some luck. But 24 in a row still says that when the small things are coming into the conversation, they are achieving those things in special teams. They're achieving those things even at the bottom of the roster with as far as the right decisions in preseason. They're practicing the right traits. To Mel's point, they have built that right culture. And I'd be willing to bet they generally don't even start slow in the season. And I really wish I had time to look it up right now just to confirm it. But they seem to be doing the small things well. And you have to believe it can't be meaningless. There has to be some rollover, even in the mentality of the players when you're talking about week 1 into week 5.
Well, you make some valid points here too, though, Travis. I like what you said about the bottom of the roster and building depth. And you really need that, is what you really need. And I think that's an excellent point that you just really made. And I really think that that's the one thing. It doesn't hurt to always be able to have some kind of a winning culture coming, if there's any such thing as momentum, going out from the preseason into the regular season. But I can definitely see your point there. So let me go out there. We'll have an opportunity to let everybody know that Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Participate in the chat room, or also send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. So if you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call, 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. So with that said, we'll go on to our next topic, and that will be Baker Mayfield. So as the fifth member of our crew reappears, and we take David Copperfield out of
We
the
got some
equation.
bad weather. We got some storms coming through. I apologize, guys. I'm back.
Oh, that's all right. That gives me a lot to look forward to when I hit the road tomorrow. Thanks. I appreciate it. I'll just know to pack a jacket ahead of time. So last topic before I turn it over to Mel, though, is that Baker Mayfield was sharper than Kyle Trask in the Bucks 27-17 preseason opening loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Friday night. Coach Todd Bowles wasn't ready to say either candidate has gained the upper hand. So, all right, we'll lead it off with you, Bo.
I mean, it's Baker Mayfield, right? So he is the pinnacle of inconsistency. He will fly into a city, have 2 games or 2 days with a playbook and win a game. And then he'll have a bye week and play one of his worst games that he's had. So, I mean, I wouldn't be ready to give him the reins either, just simply because his gameplay is all over the place. When he's on, and when he's off, he's way off. So I wouldn't give him the reins yet, but I still think Baker's probably going to win that role.
All right, well, good evening, Jeremy. Looking forward to seeing you at Black Rock Bar and Grill out in Heartland on Wednesday night. George and I are definitely looking forward to meeting you in person. All right. With that said, okay, what do you think, Travis?
While Baker may have had a better game overall, there has to be some trepidation as far as hitching your wagon to Bo's point. A known quantity, a known product, an inconsistent quarterback. So I understand why he's not ready to hitch his wagon into Mayfield. I want to wait to the last possible minute to make that decision. I want to give both of them the maximum amount of film and build that argument for both of them. Again, they've seen them practicing every day and they've seen the ups and downs. So while he's not ready to make that decision right now, yeah, and that makes total sense. And even though he was sharper, they didn't have a significant, it wasn't an insanely significant. It wasn't like he blew Kyle Trask out of the water as far as the objective numbers. Again, I didn't see the game. I'm not a Bucks fan, but just looking at the stat sheet, they weren't significantly different. It was just, you're talking small things, hitting the routes, going down the field, as far as making the simple stuff look simple. But I'm not hitching my wagon to that either until I'm 2 to 3 games in, and I want to make sure I given both of them every opportunity to place their best film on that tape. So yeah.
Hey, George.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's face it. You got to look at the entire body of work, and the body of work for Baker leaves a lot to be desired. And again, I know the media love to do all the analysis after one exhibition game, and that's their job. I get it, but it's one game, fellas. It's not an entire 3-game preseason, or it's not a chunk of games during the regular season we're talking about. So yeah, the lack of consistency has been so evident in Baker's career that this situation now needs to play out more. I agree with you guys. It needs more time. Just don't get too high after one game, or don't get too low in the case of some rookies or even veterans that are trying to make these rosters.
Okay, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, Baker has more experience. I mean, he should be leading him right now. I mean, it really should be a no-brainer. Should be a slam dunk. I mean, he should be winning this thing hands down. The fact that it's close tells you a lot, I guess. About where Baker's career has gone since what was he? He was number 1 overall draft pick with Cleveland, and
Right.
Now he's kind of a journeyman now. I've always liked his competitive spirit. He didn't have all the things that you're looking for in a quarterback, but it seemed like he was a winner. Unfortunately, it just really, maybe he got in a bad situation up there in Cleveland. I really don't know. It's unfortunate. It seems like him and Todd Bowles always find themselves in bad situations. When Todd was there and with the Jets, I think he was stuck there with Sam Darnold or whoever, and it just, And now here Todd Bowles is again, trying to find a quarterback. I mean, it's unfortunate that he's in a situation where he's trying to find a quarterback, but that's why you have coaches there, and they got to coach them up and get these guys up to speed. And I think it's good that he hasn't named a starter because these guys need to compete. There's nothing wrong with competing. Competition is only going to bring the best out of both of them. And once the dust settles, they'll figure out who is going to be their starting quarterback. But, we only get to watch the games. They watch the practice. They watch the preparation. They watch the when they come in there and they have another team in there, and they have those type of little practices as well. So, we'll just have to wait to see how it shakes out. But I would expect Baker to win because he has far more experience than Kyle Trask does.
All right, George, I just want you to read this comment in the chat room.
Yes, kneecap biting. Baker Mayfield has never been consistent except one season.
Yeah, that's true. But by the same token, I don't know how anybody can be consistent with the Cleveland Browns anyways, because they've gone through more coaches and politicians tell lies.
And they have a nice roster, though.
Yeah, no,
They did.
Well, it's also we want to be fair to the situations that both quarterbacks were placed in,
right.
And that was something that Nash used to always tell me because we argue about quarterback play all the time since I'm a fan of the Jaguars and we used to have bad quarterbacks. But no, that was always the argument. It's like, hey, what situations were they in? Were they consistent? And apparently, Trash was pressured on 40% of his snaps. Meanwhile, Baker was only pressured on 22% of his. So if one's under a lot more pressure than the other quarterback, and the stats are even reasonably the same, that sounds like pretty much a tie situation. If you know what I mean, that sounds like a pretty equal scenario. So I can again see why they wouldn't be ready to make a decision.
Back to kneecap, he said that was the year they upset the Steelers, but I'll tell you, that was a good year when they did upset the Steelers.
Yeah.
Because that was a pretty impressive year. It's hard to upset them in the playoffs, but again, he went, here's a guy that's been to Carolina, then ended up, going to the Rams, had a nice heroic effort there. But now I believe really this was Baker Mayfield's last shot at becoming a starter in the National Football League. If he doesn't succeed with this opportunity, nobody's asking him to be Tom Brady at all, but at least just have a halfway decent season. That's all you really want him to do. And of course, we know Kyle Trask is waiting in the wings. I love a good active chat room, and I'll go back to this one again. The Bucs should let Trask play with the same players that Mayfield did this season. This week, I wouldn't be surprised, kneecap, if that does happen, because obviously Todd Bowles needs to make a fair assessment of what he has in order to come up with a starter. I don't know what you're going to really get out of week 3 in the preseason, other than the fact you're going to probably play it safe. So, all right, well, good comments from kneecap and all the rest of the participants in the chat room. So, with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Mel. Go ahead, Mel.
So today we had, being a former running back, I'm looking at my phone and I get a couple alerts, and I was kind of surprised by the first running back that went off the board that's left in free agency. Got Zeke Elliott going to the Patriots, I think, for a 1-year deal up to $6 million, $1 million sign, $3 million salary, and he could get up to $6 million. And then right before we went on air, the one that I actually thought would go before Zeke Elliott actually signed. I can't even think of his name right now, but Dalvin Cook. He signed with the Jets 1 year, up to $8.6 million. So two things. Well, I mean, my comment is there goes the running back market going down. These are two, Dalvin Cook's four-time Pro Bowler. Zeke Elliott, he's gone to the Pro Bowl, but I think he's on the downside of his career. I think Zeke's kind of ate his way out of Dallas. But between these two players, Bo, which one do you think will have the biggest impact for their team? Will it be Zeke with the Patriots, or will it be Dalvin Cook with the Jets?
Oh, Dalvin Cook easily. The Patriots they got a tough road ahead of them this season. So did they need a running back? Of course. Do I think that Zeke is the answer there? Not at all. Like you said, he is on the downside of his career. Do I think he can be effective? Sure. Do I think he's an every down back? Probably not really anymore. Whereas Dalvin Cook, he's going into a great situation. That team is set up to win. And he's not going to have as much pressure on him because they have Rodgers, right? So there's going to be holes that are going to be on that, in that offensive line that there wouldn't be on a team that knows you're going to have to run all the time. You can't just stack the box when you have Aaron Rodgers under center, because you have to respect the fact that he can bomb it 70 yards down the field. So you don't get to have those safeties creep up on you the way that you would against a Mac Jones, who just doesn't have the arm talent to do something like that. Certainly not consistently. And then, of course, this allows them to bring Breece Hall back slower, lets him fully recover. So obviously that's a safety net for the Jets there. No, I think he has a better season overall.
You think,
Travis, what do you think?
Sorry, no.
I mean, I know Breece Hall, when the rumors of Dalvin Cook first started, had his comments, or I shouldn't even say comments, just his icons that were placed on Twitter, that it didn't seem like he was happy about it at the time, at least. So I can assume, based on how that went, that he's probably not very happy with it now. But nevertheless, he's not a rookie. I guess a second-year running back who didn't finish the one season. Looked very impressive, but nevertheless didn't finish the season, and is now on the PUP. Who's going to start practicing? Not even started. Is going to start practicing soon. Right. That's a good timeshare situation that the Jets have now set themselves up for. That's a great situation for them. It's a great signing, not for the running back market, but for the team, absolutely. But for the Patriots one was actually more intriguing to me, only because we've heard for weeks about this Dalvin Cook potential signing with the Jets. They've been talking about this on media forever. But the Ezekiel Elliott one with the Patriots was, I'm like, oh, okay, so they really want Ramondre Stevens to be in a timeshare. I mean, they already were with the Damian Harris, last year. Now he's no longer in the offense. Then they signed James Robinson, former Jaguar, release him, and then they signed Zeke Elliott, and they're just going to just keep trying these running backs who may have, be a low risk, high reward kind of signing. And if they can find lightning in a bottle with one of these guys for cheap, then they're just going to have a great looking timeshare situation. And if it doesn't work, they're out, $2-3 million, which is probably around the salary that James Robinson was originally signed for. It's not a bad deal for the organization. It just stinks for running backs.
Mm-hmm.
George?
Well, I think, would you rather play for Mac Jones? Or would you rather play for Aaron Rodgers? I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers has got obviously at least a clear sign of light for a division or championship that the Jets are doing, building around him. So I think Cook is a great addition for them. No question about it. Zeke fits into the Patriots. I mean, even the years Brady won, I mean, it was running back by lottery a lot of times. I mean, they did not need a big name back because of Brady's ability. It's totally different now with Mac Jones. Obviously, he's not in the class of Brady. And I really think that it's going to help both teams, really. But I agree with you, Mel. I mean, the situation about the financials is not good. And I know you've talked about it, now on several shows, but it is an eye-opening situation in the NFL that really is not fair to the running backs. So, but getting back to your other question, yeah, I think they'll both help, but I think Cook will help. Cook will help more with the Jet situation.
Yeah, is Zeke going to be like what? Who was the running back that came over from Cincinnati that played real well for the Patriots?
Oh, was it Corey Dillon?
Corey Dillon. I mean, he doesn't have that left in the tank. I was really surprised. I mean, I'm happy for him, but I was really surprised. Obviously there was enough money to get him up off the couch. Now, we talked about Sony Michel last week. The money that he was getting, just wasn't cutting it for him. He decided to go sit back on the couch. There wasn't enough money for him. So, $1 million a sign, and I think $3 million guaranteed. I don't know. I think it was guaranteed, $3 million guaranteed. I doubt it was guaranteed. I would doubt it. But I mean, I guess that was enough to get Zeke off the couch, and the opportunity to earn up to $8.6 million was enough to get the other guy off the couch. So we'll just have to see. But I believe, I'm like you guys. I think Dalvin Cook will have a much more of an impact than Zeke will. I think they probably got Zeke short yardage situations. He's a good pass protection. He's good in the pass protection, although that last one, the last picture we have of him with that little trick play and him getting blown, getting put on his back by the linebacker. I mean, that he does have to do a better job of pass protector than that. So I think he didn't want to have that be the last thing that he had on film. So I'm happy he got back out there and is going to put something better out there on film. And with that, Scott, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, I thought you had another one. All right, well, that's okay. Well, you know what? Instead, it's better off this way. We're going to open it up to parting shots. Bo, lead off, please.
All right. So speaking of not being too high or too low in preseason, there's overreaction Monday, right? And so it's just been funny to watch people look at Justin Fields' stat line and say, oh, he's that guy. This is amazing. And, his stat line looked awesome, right? 3 for 3, 129, 2 scores. Like, it looked great. He had -8 air yards, right? So we already knew that he could throw to the flat, and we knew he could throw a 4-yard pass. Hopefully we actually get to see him throw the ball, vertically down the field. So I'm not ready to jump on the bandwagon where everybody's like, oh, he's that guy. But he has enough pieces, so we should know what he is by week 10 or 12.
Sounds good. All right, Travis, go ahead.
If I can, I just wanted to say one small thing to that Justin Fields piece. I saw something online that was talking about the fact that the Chiefs had the most yak of all NFL teams last year, and they were comparing that to the Justin Fields situation, basically saying that, hey, if you have a good coach and they find the guys that are wide open a yard from the quarterback and they can run 99 yards, then so be it. So, hopefully he does have a good, as far as coaching situation, that they'll set him up for that. But
I do agree with you. But we haven't seen the ability to push the field, and that's
fair.
What I want to see.
Understood. Now, I had an issue with the NFL's their modified personal conduct rule. They modified the policy about a week ago, so it's kind of fallen under the radar with all the preseason games. But basically, it granted the NFL the ability, if they chose, to investigate and take disciplinary actions against incoming draft prospects for incidents that may have occurred before the player enters the league. And that sounds like a great idea and everything else, but then it's like, when I sat back and thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute. So the NFL, with the coordination of the NFLPA, players who actively play in the league have now made a rule about potentially punishing someone who is not actively in the NFLPA. Right. So this is the college person who's done something while in college before they ever took the job. That is odd. That feels off. That in very many ways that rubs me the wrong way, because I'm like, wait a minute. So that college student, what is it, Carter from Georgia, or anybody else who may have some kind of disciplinary action, is now going to be punished for something they did in college, and you're negotiating this on their behalf, even though they're not actually in the NFLPA yet. That feels weird.
Didn't that happen to one player that he was punished coming into the league? Wasn't it recently, within the last 5-10 years, there was a player, I can't think of his name right now.
I know what you're talking about. It was a few years ago, and I thought there was a lot of negotiation with that, or I won't say negotiation, but there was a lot of back and forth with basically what is and isn't legal within that process. Kind of. So now they've officially made the change in the actual NFL guidelines, because I think they kind of knew that it's wrong. Like, if you don't have it outlined in the rules, you can't then punish someone for it after the fact, like just because it doesn't look good on the NFL.
If it's the one that I'm thinking of, they were able to do it because they'd already declared for the draft, so they were kind of already involved, right? In
that limbo.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if it was like a year earlier or something, I could definitely, that seems weird. I wrote that down. I'm gonna look further into that, because that seems it doesn't seem right.
It was an update. It happened on August 8th.
Well, I'll tell you what I want you guys to do, okay? Table that discussion for next Tuesday night when you're both reunited. How does that sound? Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
We'll carry it over to next Tuesday night for sure. All right, that's good. Both you guys research, and then, Bo, you can actually text it to me, and then maybe I'll just introduce it as a topic for all of us to talk about. How does that sound? Okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, George, what's your parting shot?
Well, the bandwagon is full, guys, at Ford Field in Detroit. Last Friday's victory for the Lions against the New York Giants, 45,000. It's the biggest exhibition crowd
Oh, 60.
since that place opened the first year, and obviously they sold the place out back when the stadium opened. But it felt like a regular season game. And Maurice Alexander, punt return. Oh my gosh, did he razzle dazzle that crowd? And then, of all people, we got Adrian Martinez, the backup quarterback, leading them to the victory in the fourth quarter. So the fans are super pumped, and Dan Campbell says, bring it on. He does not deny the fact that there's excitement surrounding this team. And I tell you what, he's an intense fellow, but things are looking really good right now, at least to start the new season. And like I said, I was just amazed. I couldn't believe they had 45,000 because normally they're lucky to get 30,000 for those preseason games. So the Lions are off to a great start. Season tickets are sold out, and that's my 2 cents.
Okay, Mel, what's your part in chat?
Yeah, I thought there were 60. I thought they said there were 60,000 at that game. But anyway,
60,000 tickets sold, Mel, but only 45,000 showed. I shouldn't say only, but yeah.
Mm.
It was wild. It was like a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah.
I was a little bored this weekend, so I watched the Baker Mayfield documentary, and what I came away with is pretty much and I don't want to take anything for granted or make light of his mental health or anything like that, but you look at it throughout his life. He's been a media whore, pardon my language, pretty much all of his career. And the one thing that really stood out to me is that when he got to Cleveland, everything that he thought he wanted, he didn't want anymore. Baker Mayfield didn't like to work. He didn't like to work at it. He didn't like to practice. The story about his coming from wealthy family member or wealthy family, oil money, that was made up because, he was going around signing them autographs and he was making $100,000 a clip cash underneath the table. He got suspended for that half a game. It was basically a slap on the wrist his sophomore year. But that's the one thing they talked about him. He said he was a frat boy. He liked to party. He liked to drink. He loved the attention. He loved the notoriety, but he really didn't like to prepare. He didn't like to work at it. That's what. And when the draft, I'm like, he's a Sandlot player. I mean, he just likes to just ad lib everything. He doesn't want to do anything on schedule. Doesn't surprise me that his career turned out the way that he did. I mean, he sabotaged his own career. That whole thing in Vegas where he did that. I mean, he admitted to it. So, hell, I can't catch the flight. Just to hell with it, man. We're just going to go out, party, and drink and whatnot. And he didn't show up. He missed the game. He didn't show up. So, I mean, he was self-destructing all the way. I mean, he just self-destructed because he really did not want to play football. He liked the fame. He liked the notoriety, hanging out with the rappers and the actors and the actresses and doing all that other and partying, doing coke and whatever other stuff he was doing. But he just didn't like to play. And that little small snippet on what everybody's been talking about, what we talked about last week, real quick at the end, like real quick. It was real quick. So I'm just thinking that, it's just him being him and really just seeking out attention, because I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I don't want to make light of anyone's mental health. But, the timing of it all and everything to me just seems like, he just wanted to get his name back out there because he just loves the attention.
All right, let me go to the chat room.
I don't know if anybody else consumed it, but it's not the worst. It's not the worst 45 minutes that you'll spend in your life, 45, 50 minutes, hour, whatever it was. I mean, but it's not the best either if you have something better to do.
No, I'll definitely end up watching that. The part that was not really a surprise to me was when Manziel said that he watched zero tape, right?
Yeah, zero.
And if that's the only thing that you took from it, you'd be like, okay, well, Big Ben didn't watch tape outside of the facility either, right? Like he didn't take it home, but he watched a ton of tape while in the facility, right? He just wasn't someone that would take it home and do it. This made it sound like unless he was sitting in a meeting he was not consuming tape at all. It also makes it sound like even when he was in that meeting, he wasn't consuming what he was watching.
Right. Yeah, he said. I mean, he said zero. I didn't like to prepare. I just wanted to go out there and wing it. That's what he wanted to do. He even up to his agent was drug testing him like every week or whatever before the combine.
Yeah.
And he was out in California doing something the week before the combine, and he was doing fine. He was doing fine for months. A week before the combine, he calls his agent. Man, I effed up. What do you mean? I mean, how bad? I messed up, man. So I mean, alcohol is not a problem when you go to the combine. That's not going to be a problem. So he's doing some sort of illicit drug right before the combine. So they're trying to figure out a way. Hey, look, he called his dad. Hey, look, you got to be sick. You got to go check yourself in the hospital. He's going to go to the combine, report there, be there for 6 hours and leave before they take the drug test, and then he'll come back or something like that. I mean they're concocting all kind of stories for this guy just because, he was self-destructive.
Let me go to the chat room real quickly, okay? Obviously, Kneecap talks about the fans at Ford Field got almost as loud as when J-Mo caught the 2-point conversion. Now let's go to the one that you guys are referring to. Johnny Football ruined himself. Yeah, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, he could, he had opportunities in the National Football League and then even blew him in Canada. And now who knows if anybody will want him. I don't even think the XFL.
He doesn't want to play. That's the bottom line. He doesn't want to play.
Yeah, too bad.
He was a ball, but he was a baller his whole life. I mean, that's what it comes down to, though. Like, everyone has their own issue, and his was the fact that he was gifted with some incredible God-given talent, but never had the drive and never needed the drive up until the time that he needed it. You know what I mean? Like, he never needed to study. I never needed to have structure. Never needed to do anything other than party.
Yeah,
and it worked out. So that became his norm.
He went to like a military type school where they had to be up at 6 a.m. and they were doing all kind of physical activity. His dad sent him there for the discipline. Within 6 months of him being at Texas A&M, that's out the window, man. He's a frat boy.
Yeah. So
we all to the chat room again. Kneecap again. The guy had every opportunity to show he was a guy and said he wanted to be the party guy. Yeah, no doubt. The only thing I'll say about Johnny, though, is he did have good taste in women. I mean, all the ones he went out with. He blew up more opportunities to find the right person than you guys. ... Okay. Add a little.
Women are least of your trouble.
Yeah, apparently they were the most of his troubles, but everything we say
the women weren't
Johnny is the opposite.
His problem. Yeah, the women weren't his problem.
No, yeah, I think we definitely all know that. I'm trying to kid around here, so all right, I'll give you my part of the shot, but it doesn't pertain to football. James Harden, my goodness, guess what? I don't even want to go out there, and I'll never play for Daryl Morey again. All right, he's a liar. I signed that 1 year thinking I was going to get traded. You know what? Sorry, James, okay? This isn't Christmas. Nobody's going to give you away for nothing, even though I'm convinced you're never going to win an NBA championship in your lifetime anyways. So, James, I hope you sit out the whole year. And I hope that you don't get a nickel of your money, because then you'll be dumber than Latrell Sprewell, and that takes a lot to do. So, good riddance, James Harden. I just can't stand you anyways. Beard or no beard, maybe you better shave off the beard so that we don't know how to identify you, because everybody will laugh at you anyways. All right, back to Kneecap. He's on a roll, so somebody's got to keep this chat room going, and he's got a lot to talk about. So because he watched videos of the women instead of football. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward there. Kneecap, glad you're in the GMTA Great Minds Think Alike category. So I don't know, that James Harden thing. Since we're not doing a lot of shows this week outside of Inside the Pigskin, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, I might as well go out there and put James, I will never win a title, Harden. Okay. And James, I am a cancer to a team, Harden. And if you get the idea, okay, James, I don't like you, Harden. Okay. So there. Okay. And if James Harden is pulling a Le'Veon Bell, then he's definitely going to get his bell rung, especially when the cash register isn't ringing as well. So what a great broadcast we had tonight on Inside the Pigskin. Professor Manning, we all look like professors as we went ahead and moved all the way around the gridiron to find some different things to talk about. So with that said, I want to mention everything about us, and then I'm going to leave it off with George Eichhorn. just so you know, Inside the Pigskin being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Also, comment, like, and share the broadcast. A lot of you guys going through the chat room would be great. Send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com, and we will match you with the show that best fits your suggestion. Also, if you're looking to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com. And, of course, you can find us on Twitter @Tribune South. Andy Ebling is behind the scenes. We'll go back to the kneecap since he's on a roll. I guess his hands are pretty good when it comes to the keyboard, so we'll go ahead and let George Eichhorn read what he just typed on the keyboard. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeremy says my parting shot after the Friday preseason game, Nate Sudfeld proved to me why I call him Blankfeld. He was horrible.
Yeah, well, you know, again, Smoke and Jeremy B's learned a thing or two about the nicknames, being around me for a little while. So what a very good, candid broadcast here. But before we sign off, Bo, let everybody know how they get a hold of you. And we'll let everybody know that Bo will be coming on a lot more editions of Inside the Pigskin. I've gotten to know Bo through Twitter. And I'm going to tell you, folks, you know, Twitter is a great way to meet people. You have to go through a lot of numbers. But I've met a lot of great guests on Twitter that have been a big part of our show. And Bo is certainly one of the most welcome additions to my scheme of things. And I'm looking forward to giving you a whole lot more airtime, Bo. Thanks. You were fantastic tonight. And this is just the beginning for you and I, Bo. All right, go ahead. Let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's always fun hanging out with you guys. You can find me on my channel on YouTube. It is just @football-talk. You can find me on Spotify. And of course, my Twitter handle is right there on the screen. Basically, if you log in there, I check in all throughout the day. And of course, you know, that's how I met Scott here. So yeah, no, it's always fun chatting with people throughout the day on Twitter. And it's that time of year. Football's back, baby.
Yeah, Bo and I chat a lot on Twitter. We're Twitter buddies, and now we get on the air. So football talk with Bo and the Motor City Mad Mouth, okay? And we have a Mo theme here. And Bo, all right, with that said, Travis Sherlock Holmes, go ahead. I had to get your nickname up one time. Go ahead. Let everyone know how to get a hold of you.
You can find me on Threads, Instagram, Facebook, Travis D. Holmes. You can find me on Twitter /X, Trav Likes Bacon. You can find my writing at bigcatcountry.com. I'm the breaking news correspondent. We just had an article earlier today about the Jaguars. 3 roster moves. One of our offensive linemen have been taken off the PUP list. Definitely give that a look. And well, throughout the season, we're trying to get this new show started. We'll work on the name of it, but it's the Duval Dive, a Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, and we're going to be airing those every Wednesday with myself and student of the game, Kyle Nash. Thank you for having me again, Scott.
Oh, my pleasure. We're glad you're a regular on the broadcast. You bring a lot of great points and dimensions to it. And Travis Holmes, a regular. Bo is pretty much on the verge of being one, but he's back in the rotation anyways. With that said, my co-host for the night is Mel Farr Jr., who's come a long way from being an analyst to my right-hand man. All right, Mel, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Find me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr., just as it says there, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Also follow what we have going on here in Atlanta and also up in Michigan, up in Detroit, in the Detroit area, for the youth at melfar.org.
And last but not least, George Eichhorn.
Yeah, I've got a book out on Detroit sports broadcasting, and it's available. There's a link, rather, to order the book at the end of my column, which is under the South Florida Tribune. I write under the Motor City Tribune banner. And looking forward to getting your comments. You can send me your thoughts at gicorn@yahoo.com, on LinkedIn, also under my name, George Eichhorn. And don't forget on Twitter, or X as it's called now, at SandGSports99. You can also read me locally in the pages of the Downtown Monitor.
Yeah, it's pretty cool being in that book since I'm writing one of my own with Jimmy Connors and Muhammad Ali.
Yes,
And now
good
I'm on the
job.
verge of, and now I'm on the verge of writing my own book. I'll get into more details as we get closer. But I'm working on a textbook as well as a regular book, old school versus new school media. So a lot of people can relate to how it was versus how it is. Adjusting to new media is the subtitle of it, and I have a lot of other things that I'll continue to provide updates in the next several weeks as we get closer to releasing it. So meanwhile, what a great job tonight here. Our version of Monday Night Football doesn't come on Monday very often, but because of my travel schedule this week, I want to make sure that since we're starting to get involved with football, there's no better time than to open this week here with an Inside the Pigskin. And I'm so deeply proud of my crew. Bo, welcome back. Looking forward to see you a lot more. Travis, as usual, what can I say? Okay. Mel, great co-host. And George Eichhorn, well, I'm at a loss for you. You've only been around for a while anyways, a long while. So, and it's hard for me to be at a loss of words for much of anything. So on behalf of my great crew tonight, this is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. And we will catch you next Tuesday at our normal time. Good night, everybody.